Hi, welcome everyone. We are here with the Marion County Chamber of Commerce. We're here at 304 Collective in Fairmont, West Virginia, and tonight is the second in our series of City Council candidate forums. And we will be broadcasting these throughout the month of September at 7 p.m. So make sure that you tune in and keep following these very informative forums. We're here tonight with Deasy. She is candidate for District 6. Before we get started, we would love if you're here, if you would leave a comment, say hello, let us know that you're watching. Also, if you have any questions for the candidate, please leave those in the comments, and we'll ask some questions from the community at the end of our session. We also want to remind everyone that when voting for City Council, every resident of the city will vote for one person from each district. So be sure to tune in and meet all of the candidates. So we're going to get started. Gia, if you would, give us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I came to Fairmont in 1979. I'm a graduate of Fairmont State College then. I've been a property owner for over 30 years right here in District 6. My son and daughter-in-law are graduates of Fairmont Senior High School. On a personal side, we're looking forward to being a grandmother in December. My husband is J.B. Erse, and our youngest stepdaughter is now a freshman at Fairmont State. On a professional note, I did my undergraduate work at Fairmont State, but my graduate and doctoral work is at West Virginia University. I taught in Wood County, I've taught in Marion County. I worked for about a decade at West Virginia University on a federal grant that was training special educators across the state. Currently, I'm the administrative assistant to the superintendent, and I'm in charge of special services. So everything from special ed to school nurses, that type of thing. I'm an adjunct at Fairmont State University, helping them out in the education department. Community involvement, I'm a commissioner for the Human Rights Committee, or Human Rights Commission. I'm a commissioner for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And I'm on a few different advisory boards like the Disability Action Center, Youth Academy, involved in the Family Resource Network, those types of things. So that's me.
Well, that's wonderful. I think most people think of the Director of Special Services, but even I learned some new things tonight, yeah. So that's wonderful. Why don't you tell us a little bit about District 6?
Okay, District 6 is an interesting district. My neighborhood is the 600 block of Walnut Avenue, and District 6 actually runs up around College Park, over to Upland, and back down to View, a little bit of Locust Avenue, Gaston, Virginia. We're mainly older neighborhoods, college neighborhoods. There's some businesses in my district that are along Locust and Fairmont. Neighborhood revitalization is a big deal in my district, in District 6.
Now, why, Gia, did you decide to run for City Council?
That's a good question. First of all, I want to say I take community involvement pretty seriously. I was brought up that you should give your talents, whatever they are, you share and you give back. Last year, I participated in Leadership Marion, and that was a very, inspiring activity for me. It really made me take another look at what else I might be able to do for the district. I've been involved in the Zoning Board of Appeals, and so many people in Fairmont come before the Zoning Board of Appeals with great ideas that some of the zoning rules don't quite cover. I'm talking about everything from building a ramp for their aging neighbor to some businesses, things like I've been involved in Sheets, Dunkin' Donuts, some of those real important businesses that we wanted to get off the ground and couldn't have without Zoning Board of Appeals. So I think that's what kind of prompted me to say, we have some problems here, but I think we can fix a lot of our problems. And I think my district needs a representative. So that's pretty much why I decided to go for it.
Very good, very good. Tough times, we're clearly in the middle of a pandemic. and Fairmont has grown and changed, but what, either COVID related or in general, what challenges do you see that are facing the City of Fairmont, and then how would you hope to deal with those challenges as a City Council member?
Well, first of all, I have to say, of course, I'm an educator and I'm in the school system. So most of the challenges I see in our children. And our children are reflections of their homes and what's going on in their homes. So like you mentioned, Julie, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I think we've all realized that we also have an opioid crisis going on. We have some drug issues that our children are having to deal with. Have a lot of grand families that are raising their grandchildren, and not to mention, like I said, the typical things that the pandemic has done to put stress on us. I don't want to sound all on a sour note, though. I have to say, I think Fairmont has its unique challenges, but some of those challenges are nationwide, so it's not uncommon for other communities to be dealing with what we're dealing with. But I think we have our unique strengths, too. I think there's a lot that we can do and are doing in order to take care of this. As far as my role, I think my background in public education will serve me well as a city council person. I think I know what's going on throughout the entire county, but more importantly, right here in Fairmont. I also think I have a strong understanding, because of my involvement with some of the nonprofits and some of the agencies that are really doing the heavy lifting for Fairmont. I mean, as politicians, as different figureheads, we do a lot, but there's organizations, as you well know, that are doing the day-to-day hard work that needs to be done in order to help our community. I also think that some of the changes, or at least the opportunities to go in front of the Zoning Board of Appeal and appeal some of the rulings that just don't quite fit where we are right now, but would make good sense to do something a little differently, has given me the skills I need to be on the city council. I think I have good collaboration skills. I think I have good communication skills. So I'm certainly up to the challenges, and I think a lot of the other city council members are as well.
Yeah. You bring up some good points there with both the Leadership Marion program and the social service agencies, the boots on the ground folks. So speaking from a nonprofit sector, that's wonderful to have that focus on city council, to know really what is going on the streets. Right. That's great. Are there any new initiatives or things that are not currently happening in Fairmont that you feel that you could bring?
I have to be fair about this question, because I thought about this for a while. I don't want to say there's a lot of new initiatives, because I did take the time to go back and look at the City of Fairmont's goals and priorities that the City Council put up. These are fabulous and well-focused goals. I mean, everything that Fairmont needs is in that plan. Now, is it happening as quickly as we'd like to see it happen? Maybe not. But when you talk about downtown revitalization, sure, that's a fabulous goal. We need that. Neighborhood revitalization, I mentioned, that's what pulls me into the race. I'm concerned about neighborhood revitalization. Parks, recreation, events, I look at that as solid ground for our families and for our children. Beautification, Fairmont has so much right here in town that can look beautiful, and so much that sometimes looks shabby because we didn't quite do enough effort behind an event or whatever to make it look a little better. So I really don't have anything negative to say about what's going on, but as far as newer things or more focus, like I mentioned, maybe a little more support and public acknowledgement for the agencies that are dealing with the hard issues, the homelessness, the drug concerns, domestic violence, those kinds of things. I think we need to be as behind those groups as anything else. I worry about the school system, levies and bonds, and now, like we mentioned with the pandemic, is there a level playing field for students that have to have accessibility to do distance education? That's been troublesome as well. So a little more support for our young people and for our families, our struggling families. And with that being said, I know this council had quite a time getting the Human Rights Commission off the ground. And I don't think that we can forget that we have an HRC, and remembering what the council's responsibility is and what the Human Rights Commission's responsibility is back to the council.
Very good. That brings up my next question. I know you are a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission, and how do you best see that commission carrying out its work and interacting with the city?
Okay. This has been the first year for the Human Rights Commission. So in all fairness, that was an initializing year, a lot of work to get off the ground. I'm really fortunate to work with the commissioners I work with. Something brought each of them to the table. And my personal experience as a daughter of first-generation U.S. citizens and my work with individuals with disabilities brought me to that table. I would like to see the City Council more involved, and we've had some of their presence at our meetings. In all fairness, the COVID pandemic kind of limited how those meetings would have to happen. But thanks to Brett White and some of the other leaders on the commission, we've stepped up, and we do Zoom meetings and we hold meetings. A couple things about the Human Rights Commission, though, I think I'd be mistaken not to bring up. It's a people's commission. I mean, what we do and what our focus is depends on the people of Fairmont and what the issues are at hand. I've thought back and forth. I hate to call it the audience, but the people that come to our meetings, the people that are out there in the audience, they contribute as much as we do. They're folks that come with needs and issues, but they also come with solutions. There's never been a group that came before the Human Rights Commission with a problem that didn't have some energy behind them as to what they'd like to see happen next. The other issue I want to bring up, we're really fortunate to have Jim Nolan on that Human Rights Commission. And one of the concerns that's pressing right now is perhaps more of an educational focus, that the people that hold political office, the people that represent the City of Fairmont might need to be a little more knowledgeable about diversity, may need to have a little more training and how to make sure that they respect and appreciate all groups. More importantly, to make sure that they don't professionally do anything that marginalizes, insults, or actually ignores a group. So Dr. Nolan has been very helpful in bringing folks to the Human Rights Commission that are interested in providing that kind of education to, city employees, elected officials, and folks that would represent our city in a little more friendly, accepting way. Lastly, I do have to say, we've heard loud and clear that some of the community is concerned that there's not enough diversity on the Human Rights Commission. We had a public forum and we asked the community, what are your issues? There were some issues that we knew we had and some issues, like I said, Julie, you were in one. We said, do we have issues with individuals with disabilities? And at that time, all was calm on the front there.
That's correct.
But there were other groups that, no, everything wasn't calm. And I'm very hopeful that when I'm elected to the City Council that I will actually give up my seat on the HRC, which will open that up for the City Council to consider who they'd like to replace me. And I hope someone steps up and wants to replace me. But I'd like to stay the link between the HRC and the City Council, so that regardless, the Human Rights Commission will always have a City Council person attending their meeting and being the liaison back and forth. And like I said, several of those members have attended our meetings, but I'd like that to be a little more consistent and be a little stronger bridge.
Excellent. I do want to apologize. I was checking my phone here, and that's only because there's some questions coming in from the audience. So for those at home and for you, I wanted to let you know we did have a question coming in.
Thank you.
And this is more about citizen and community involvement. How important is citizen involvement to the city, and how would you encourage more community involvement?
Well, I think it's crucial. You know, there's so many people on a council, so many people on a commission, but the town is made up of its people. I'm excited to see some young people, and you know, I guess when you're my age, a lot of people are young, but I'm talking young people, the 20-some-year-olds that are stepping up and making us proud. I think whether it's volunteerism, I know we have a lot of college students that volunteer for everything from Special Olympics to cleanup activities. I think it starts there, you know, whether you're a volunteer elf at Breakfast with Santa or you're a volunteer peer buddy for Special Olympics, you know, start out where you can. The citizens of Fairmont care about their town. I mean, they care about the city, they care about their people, and that's where the energy comes from. So I suggest folks do what many of us did. I mean, I went to the City of Fairmont's webpage and looked for places that I could apply and what talents I had. I mean, that's how I landed on the Zoning Board of Appeals. That was something that was I was interested in. Human Rights Commission. We need a lot of volunteers, but I'm glad someone cared enough to ask that question.
And you said it very well earlier, and you bring up a great point, is when you have folks come to a meeting or you have folks come to a council meeting, those are your passionate people. Right. That is somebody that is going to come with a solution. Very rarely is somebody just going to come with a problem. So when those folks have the will to come and want to learn more, that's going to be someone that you want to keep involved and stay involved.
I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little sad that, you know, during the pandemic, having public faces in front of you is not always possible. But you know, if you've never been to a city council meeting, if you've never been to a Board of Education meeting, if you've never been to these, I always say go to those. But now, you know, where you're somewhat limited, but the other avenue or the other venue is, you know, log in on Zoom, log in on Microsoft Teams, whatever it is. Attend some of your public meetings to see how it works. Mm-hmm. And you learn so much from being in the audience, and you bring so much from being in the audience.
That's right, and that's half the battle. If you've got the gumption
Yeah.
to log on and put yourself out there and either get involved virtually or in person in a meeting, that's half the battle. You're there, you're at the plate, you're
That's
involved.
Right.
So I got another question that came in from the audience, and it is, if you received a $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
Now, wouldn't that be wonderful? I mean, I know money isn't everything, but boy, money surely helps. But I do have to stand back for a minute. First of all, if this city received a $1 million grant, I don't think it's Deasy's business of what we do with it. I do think we'd have to throw that back out there and see what the needs were and what the people wanted to do with that. That's a pretty good chunk of change. I would hope, given that you know, some of the goals that are currently on the council, I think we'd hear folks want to use that, whether that's for beautification, whether that's for, you know, we still are keeping our thumbs up on all this riverfront opportunity. And so I think when we look at that, whether that's for opportunities for the people that live here to enjoy this town better, or opportunities to bring in more business or bring in other folks to see how wonderful the city of Fairmont is, I think that's probably where the money needs to go. Personally, again, you know, my heart's with students and children and families, but it'd be up to the city of Fairmont how we want to do that.
Very good. I do have another question for you. You've mentioned education a lot tonight, and even mentioned a little bit about educating city council members when it comes to diversity. So my next question is, do you feel that city council members should be held accountable for any social media posts that they make regarding political or controversial subjects.
I think, you know, and I believe that when you are a representative of this city, you know, especially when you're an elected representative for this city, yes, you are accountable. You should be held accountable for what you do, what you say, how you present yourself. That comes with the territory. So, firmly, yes.
Yes. Okay. I don't see any other questions coming in from the audience right now. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to share, or anything else you would like to let everybody know?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, really, before we get off of here, I have to thank the Chamber of Commerce, and I have to thank this studio for this opportunity. Getting out among the voters, that's been a challenge during this election. And really and truly, if it hasn't been for the efforts that's going on here right now, you know, we wouldn't be able to do that. This couldn't have been any more timely. And I want you to know I've talked to many of the candidates, and we so appreciate this opportunity and everyone's time. In closing, what I do want to say is I realize, as does most of Fairmont, that the City Council has had its share of controversy lately. And I realize that some of the members' actions, like you mentioned, have caused a lot of personal hurt and have caused a lot of shame on our city. And the council has probably never had this level of public attention. And obviously not for the reasons that any council member worth their vote would like to have that attention. I can promise the voters without any hesitation that I understand the responsibility of one must have when you're a public figure. I understand that, and I understand what it means to have the responsibility to represent the city, to be a role model to young people, and also to be a respectful public servant. And I think the voters of Fairmont certainly deserve that. I don't take that responsibility lightly. My campaign slogan is pretty simple. I just went with the ideals of being dedicated, determined, and dependable. I think I've lived my whole life here in Fairmont displaying those characteristics. And that's the behavior that I exhibit, whether it's to my loved ones, friends, family, professional life, whatever. I'm a team player. I believe that there are some fabulous community servants here in Marion County, here in Fairmont, and serving on the council. I know how to collaborate, I know how to communicate, and when necessary, I know how to compromise without surrendering ideals. And I know how to be a leader, and I know how to be a hard worker, and I'm really eager to be a member of the council. And again, I promise I won't embarrass you, and I will respect the position. So,
Gia, I want to thank you. Thank you for your candidness. Thank you for putting yourself out there. I too want to thank 304 Collective and the Marion County Chamber for giving us this opportunity to learn more, not only about Gia Deasy this evening, but about all of our candidates. We've got 5 more scheduled for next week, so please continue to log on at 7 p.m. And follow us and learn more about your candidates.